You already know what time it is. It's your boy DJ Richie Skye back with some tea, interviews, recaps, and more. And be sure to check the links in the description of this video for trips, for books, one-on-one sessions, and more. Now let's get into the tea. What's going on, Sky Squad? We're back in the building. It has been a minute since we did a nice little live Ponderosa. So I thought, you know what? Let's switch it up for the day. Happy Sunday. Fun day to everybody. I did place you guys in the chat. So y'all know what that is. Like, don't say nothing crazy. If you see somebody say something crazy, say something so I can eject them faster than Latisha could get to running up out of that coffee shop. All right. Because they got to go. All right. I ain't even blessing anybody with any negativity with my energy today, because my energy is too expensive for that. Okay. That's a little something I heard over the weekend. I was like, you know what? That's accurate. That's the accuracy. We got Colorado Springs in the building, Oklahoma, Oakland, California, Connecticut is in the building. I see you. Delaware is in the building. What's up, Ashley? How you doing? Thank you so much for the like, Ashley. Definitely, y'all put those likes in the collection plate this morning. Make sure you tap like on the video when you enter the room so we can get that algo going and more people can see this live. What's up, Texas? Orlando's in the building. Not North Carolina. Lord have mercy. New York City. I'll be in New York City. Hey, North Carolina's right next. I spoke it into existence, y'all. Let me tell y'all something else I spoke into existence. I need glasses. Yeah, baby. Let me tell you something. I was at a conference in Vegas about 3 weeks ago. Y'all remember I was in Vegas for a little bit. And I was in the conference, y'all. So we can get to the video real quick. I'm just kind of letting some more people get into the building. What's up? Kenya's in the building. We worldwide. Brooklyn in the house. Inglewood, I see you. Yes, put that shrimp and grits down. San Diego, baby. Cincinnati, I see you. DMV, Silver Spring, my old stomping grounds. Mississippi, Michigan. Come on through, y'all. So yeah, I was at the conference and I was looking up at the screen because y'all know I don't like to sit up at the front of no conference because I don't. Anyway, looking up at the screen, I'm like, yo, I can't even read the slides, bro. I'm having to take photos of the slides with my Samsung so I can actually see what was on them. And I know I couldn't see those people's faces. I don't even know. Everybody looked like a little brown O that got up on the stage, okay, or a little white O, depending on, what your complexion may be. But anyway, I done went to the Warby Parker, y'all, because I didn't even know they did the eye exams. But let me tell you something. Okay? Let me tell you something. South Africa in the building. So let me tell you something. Warby Parker, they do eye examinations. I ain't never had an eye examination like this. They did so many little things to my eyes and so many little tests. I was like, yo, and the doctor was like, how have you been driving around at night? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I don't do a lot of nighttime driving anyway. But I was like, bro, like, I didn't realize I was not seeing. That's so crazy. And if y'all ever have to have an eye exam, listen, this is not sponsored or anything like that. I'm just telling y'all my experience because it was shocking to me, okay? But your boy could not see. And it was crazy with those lenses in front of those little, the little device that you got to stick your face up into. I was like, bro, I could see again. It was like I have been delivered. So speaking of deliveries, I'm waiting on my delivery now for my glasses, all right? For my official glasses, because sometimes I will wear glasses if I'm doing TV stuff, but it was really just for the look of it all because I like to look like Clark Kent. But anyway, Literally, that's how I've been moving, by faith and not by sight. Because baby, I ain't seen Nathan. All right, Nathan. You know, my sister had LASIK surgery, but they were telling me that the LASIK wears off a little bit after a while. I mean, has that been y'all's experience? I don't know, because I ain't never had it. I just always used to listen to people talk about LASIK, and I'm like, what is that? All right. We're going to talk about Love and Marriage Huntsville episode. Okay, so on my little thingy right here, it says episode 605. So that means it's season 6, episode 5. But y'all know they be doing parts A and parts B. On YouTube, it'll say season 10. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So anyway, the episode is titled Nell to the No. And it says Nell hatches a plan to help Lance with the baby, whether Chris likes it or not. Destiny refuses to take sides between the Scotts and Martell, and Trish convinces an irate Nell to talk it out with Tisha, but their meeting goes left. Okay, so I'm reading the description, and I got a little bone to pick with the description, because it says Trisha convinces an irate Nell to talk it out with Trisha. I mean, the irate Nell part is kind of like, I guess she was irate, you know. I don't know. I didn't see her as being necessarily irate as much as maybe annoyed. Irate makes it sound like she just running around with issues all the time. And that could be true based on how you see or view Miss Nell, or not, right? I'm going to tell you, I actually really enjoy Miss Nell on this show. She is what I feel like is a reality TV producer's dream. She is someone who is very reactive, right? So she reacts to everything. And, you know, she gets upset easily. She gets disturbed easily. She gets annoyed easily. And, you know, I feel like that's the type of person you want on a reality TV show, because they're going to give you whatever they are feeling. And I enjoy that. Okay. I absolutely enjoy that. So we'll get into Nell versus Latisha in a little bit, because that kind of came at the end. But I don't know. Let me know in the chat. I want to know right off the bat, if you've seen the episode, whose side were you on in this one-on-one Ponderosa? Were you on Miss Nell's side, or were you on Latisha's side? I have my feelings about it, but I want to kind of see what you guys think in the chat first, and then I'll give you my opinion as we get into that topic, right? Because we got a couple of little things to kind of discuss, and I'm feeling like y'all about to be on the same side that I was on in this particular argument, because I felt like this one person was getting her points in. She was getting her points in, baby. She was getting her points in. So I'm gonna have to give it to that person, okay? And it looks like a lot of y'all on the same side, okay? But not everybody. We're gonna talk about it. All right, so let's work our way up to that moment, right? Okay, so the first thing that we see is Miss Nell meeting with Lance. Let me give you my rating of this episode on a scale of 1 to 10. I would probably give this episode a solid 9 to me. I'm going to tell you how I feel about this era of Love and Marriage Huntsville. I do think that the show seems a bit more focused around family dynamics in this current era, and I don't mind that. I don't feel like it's as intense. It doesn't necessarily seem like it's really as much steeped in the scandal of it all. Maybe because the Sonny and Moses of it all took up so much of last season, and then there was the Martell and the things that had gone on with him and Melody, so that, you know, they couldn't even really film with each other. Not that she would ever even want to or should have to film with him after what happened. But a lot of that seems to, I mean, we're removed from those elements at this moment. And so the show definitely feels like it's taken on a more family vibe. So I mean, maybe that was intentional, or maybe that's just where we are based on the cast that we have at this moment. So it does feel like a little bit less stress of a watch. Because I just don't feel like the fandom is up in arms or outraged about as much of what's happening, right? Because there was a lot of outrage about some of the things that occurred, especially last season. So I just don't feel like that energy is there at the moment. And again, a lot of that has we're a year removed from a lot of that, and it's just we had to pivot, it sounds like. And the pivot, I feel like, is probably healthier for everyone in this moment. In this moment right here. But we'll see. All right. So Lance and Miss Nell, they have a sit-down conversation because, you know, he's with the baby. And now, well, a couple of babies, it sounds like, maybe. I don't know. But where who is the baby mama? I would be interested in knowing more about her. I mean, that's what we would probably get more into the love and hip hop aspect of this show, is where is the baby mama? Who is she? And is he the sole caretaker for the baby? I mean, because it's given, where is the mama? And listen, I don't know nothing about that lady. And if that lady don't want to be known, I understand that too. I'm not trying to know her, right? What I'm saying is, well, I guess I am trying to know her, but not to the degree. If she doesn't want to be known, I'm fine with that. But I guess my questions are, is she a part of the baby's life? Does Lance have full custody? That is probably more or less what I want to know, because that has not been explained. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's why we're curious about the baby's mother, because it sounds like Lance has the baby. I mean, unless, you know, maybe during the daytime, the babies, I mean, I don't know, because the girl won't at the house. Apparently, neither was a lot of food, but whatever. Miss Nell brings over food and some drinks or whatever like that. I think, you know, because the only thing he got on that counter is some Excedrin. Okay, so that's a question I feel like we need answers to, because that would be the only reason why it would seem as though Miss Nell would volunteer to spend 2, Lance wants 3 nights out of the week where she would spend at his house. Nell's feeling is this, because Chris is like, maybe you should talk to dad about that first. Nell is like, child, we've been married for 30 years. If he can't stand me being out of the house for 2 nights a week, then he got a problem. And then I'm kind of wondering, how far does Lance live from the mama and daddy, Miss Nell and Chris? I don't know. Does it matter? Here's the thing. How do I feel about that? I mean, I guess if Lance feels like he needs the help, is the girl's family involved at all? Like, what is going on with this? If Nell feels like she needs to be there, I guess if you want to be there, you can be there, but you probably should talk to Chris about it first, I guess. But I mean, I think it lends itself to what Chris is saying, is that if we keep coming to y'all rescue, how will y'all learn? But at the end of the day, I mean, the baby is here. I don't know. I'm on the fence on this one, because I feel like if Miss Nell wants to be there, like, let her be there. But if she really don't want to be there, then, and she's just offering to be nice, which I don't really get, then I don't know. But I also understand Chris is like, if we keep coming to y'all rescue, how will y'all ever learn? But then my thought is, if the baby is there, I mean, it's too late. Like, you can't, like, we already in the thick of the parenting of it all. So I don't know. Well, I guess Chanel, baby Chris don't want no more grandchildren running around that house, because he's like, we beyond the point of having to raise another child. So I don't know. And then the baby being maybe a 1 years old or so, I would assume at this point, those seasons and the way they film their reunions are so off to me that I cannot make a good determination on how old the baby may be. So I don't know when babies can start going to daycare. So y'all would have to tell me that. But I mean, yeah, like That's Queen Day. I agree with you. I want to know the full scope of this story because I do feel like we just got plopped in his life with no real understanding of what is going on. That probably does need to be explained fully because all we know is he got a baby. We don't know nothing about the situation, and we're kind of thrown in, and now we don't have a context for which to make any type of value-based judgments on or really connect with it as probably as much as we possibly could. Okay. Um, Ashley says if the baby's at Nell's daycare, he should be good unless the baby is under 6 weeks. And I would think that the baby's probably about a year old now, at least, maybe a year and a half. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Exactly. Chris knows. Miss Nell agrees to stuff, then complains about it to him. That's probably what Chris's issue is with this now, is that he knows that she's gonna complain about it later, even though she is offering to be there at this point in time. And I feel like that's probably the case. Okay. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know where. I mean, the baby. I don't even know where the baby was when it was filming. So, like, was the baby there? Was the baby at the daycare? Was the baby with mama? If I knew more, at least tell me where mom is, right? Because that would at least satisfy some of my curiosity and regarding this story as to whether or not we think that Miss Nell should be there or not. Where are the other grandparents? Are they around? Are they even? Are they? What is the situation there? All right. I agree, Jewel. Lance has storyline potential. It was also Miss Nell's idea on the weekly 2 days stays with Lance. She is tired of Chris's issues. Ooh. Bloop, 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 bloop. Okay. So the next scene that we see is, I can't remember if this was next or what, but let's just go with it. Kimmy invites, or was it Latisha? It was framed as Kimmy's scene, but it sounded like it was Latisha inviting Destiny and Kimmy out to go to a little boutique, right? So they go to the boutique and they kind of catch up and shoot the breeze a little, because they got to catch Destiny up on the goings on from like the past 2 episodes that she missed. And for me, I'm gonna have to reach out to Destiny, because girl, was your TikTok live 5 days? Because I don't know nothing about the TikTok live. If you know me, you know I'm just kind of getting started on TikTok, like official. I had started obviously a while back, but I was just kind of like, oh my God, there's so much extra work I got to do. And I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I be trying to live soft life, okay? Soft life, travel me. But, I'm also now getting into the coaching space. So I want to make sure that I'm also hitting all platforms. So when Destiny says she missed the event because she was doing the TikTok live, I'm like, girl, you missed 2 weeks of episodes. So how long are these TikTok lives? Like, are you going into, like, did she go into it? Because I know when Stormy does the live, and I think I have not seen Melody's lives yet, but I know when Stormy does the live, she's in a location and is set up like a big donut shop or something. Were you at the TikTok center? Like, did you have to fly out of town? Did you have to like go someplace else? Was it overseas? Was it in your facility where they make the products that you sell? I mean, where were you? Is a TikTok live a 5-day event? I just don't know. Anyway, I mean, I'm gonna have to ask. I'll ask her. I mean, I'm just gonna ask her. Destiny, how long is the TikTok live? And did you have to fly out of town for a few weeks? Meanwhile, so they catch her up on the things and whatnot, and they talk about the whole Miss Nell of it all. And whether or not Latisha was on 10 when she confronted Chris Fletcher. Well, yeah, she was a little on 10, and everybody else knows it except for her. So I don't know. I don't know if Latisha, when she gets, I mean, listen, I'm gonna have to ask her this too. Like, girl, do you get the I mean, wait, do you get to drinking and get a little zesty? Is that what happens when, like, you know what I'm saying? Because listen, if I have some tequila, I get a little zest in me too. This is why I don't drink a lot. Okay, because zesty me running around is not a good idea for anybody. So this is me and my natural personality, okay? But when you have a little tequila and you add that to my mix, then you get a whole another level of me. And I just, that level is untamed. And I wonder, Latisha, are you at that level when you have a little tequila as well? Like, is that what happens? Because you never can seem to remember that you do get on 10. Okay, you do be on 10, and you gets to getting elevated in the group scene. So I'm just wondering if during those group scenes, maybe you've had a little tequila on the side, okay, a little 1-2 shot, okay, or something like that, maybe a 1-2 finger in your sippy cup. I don't know. I'm just letting you know that it does happen. Okay. Charlene says Mel is having a live 8:23. You should watch. Okay, I will watch. Can I get reminders of these things? How can that work? Somebody let me know. Stormy's last live was at her warehouse. Okay. Maybe does she have a shop there, like a setup there? Okay, and Destiny's TikTok was 3 hours. Okay, so these be pretty long events, is what I'm hearing you guys say. Like, they are literally like big events. Okay. I need to do a TikTok live. I'm about to do that. So Grace says, not the same without the Mel Martell dynamic. Carlos needs to put AC on this joint. The ratings with skyrocket. Oh my God, let me just say this. I just feel like if they add her to the show, the streets will be on fire. So, I mean, I don't know if that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing, but it definitely would set some things. It would be little fires everywhere. Okay. And I don't know. You guys would have to figure out that. Marceau has been saying this about Tisha for years, but people hate him for it. I mean, I'm just calling a thing, right? I like Latisha, but I do feel like there is a common thread in the group scenes where she is a little turnt. A little turnt. Okay, so moving right on along. In this scene with Destiny, they kind of catch her up on that. And then Destiny, makes a point about everybody isn't going to respond to things the same way you would respond to things, which is definitely true. And then for some reason, she brings up Martell, and I'm not necessarily sure why she brings up Martell. Maybe it's to test the waters to see how Latisha's going to respond to that. And Latisha's like, okay, that's my cue to go try on some dresses or whatever like that. So she walks off, and Destiny's like, well, is that going to be the response every time I bring up somebody that you don't like? And Kimmy's like, probably. Okay. And to that, I say, listen, okay, I'm going to be for real with y'all. There are very few people in this world that I just don't like. Okay. It's very few. Like, and even if I don't like you or a person, no one except maybe a couple of people, really, you got to be in my life, would ever really know that I disliked a person. Okay. And it takes a lot to get me to dislike someone, because I can give a lot of people grace. I think that a lot of people go through things in life that shape and inform how they respond to you and to others. So I'm usually able to put it in perspective. But if you bring up somebody that I just really specifically don't like, I'm probably going to walk the other way too. Like, that's just what it is. I just feel like if there's really no need for me to ever come into contact with a person, and I feel like Martell and the Scotts, at least Marceau and Latisha, especially with what they have gone through earlier in the end of last year and early this year, I really just don't see a world where they need to even be in the same place at the same time. I just don't think that. So I just, for me, I'm not mad at Letitia's response because I get it. They told us on their live they're not friends with Martell. They would never be in any way, shape, or form in any association with him if it weren't for this show. Now that I know that, period, like point blank, like let's just keep them apart, and there's no point in them coming into contact with each other. Now, I don't know what that means for Martell because the dynamics of this show are not in Martell's favor. What I mean by that is he does not have as many friends or alliances as I would say that the Scotts have on this show, even when they're not in, even though Latisha may be in conflict with Miss Nell, Latisha and Marcel have more of a connection with this show than I would say that Martell does, which always seems to put him in danger of one, missing episodes, because is there anyone for him to film with outside of Destiny? And then B, I mean, well, that's really it. I mean, who are you gonna film with? Except for Chris trying to instruct Lance to meet up with Martell. But we'll talk about that in a second. So they follow that conversation up with kind of like whatever the situation is with Destiny and Lance. We learned that Lance apparently and Destiny ran into each other, but Lance didn't speak to her, so they just kind of went their separate ways. Whatever, woo. And beyond that, she hasn't spoken to him, but she thinks it would have been nice for them to have a conversation. They kind of get into a bit about whether or not Kimmy was being messy by telling Miss Nell that Destiny was making googly eyes at the godson. But I mean, I do feel like Kimmy was correct in what she said. It was that A, you were making googly eyes and you did not deny it. And then B, I mean, you didn't deny it. Okay, so if you felt like you weren't making the googly eyes, then you should have denied it in the moment. She was correct in that. But the way that the scene is played and they kind of playfully go back and forth, and then you later see Kimmy on the phone with Destiny, it kind of feels like the drama still feels very lightweight with this group of ladies for the most part. And so we kind of get that action going on. Speaking of that dynamic, that interaction that Kimmy is having with Destiny on the phone, in another scene, we see Kimmy and Jaylen, okay, who are both still in agreement that Maurice has treated Jaylen very differently, but it must have worked out in some way, shape, or form. I mean, at least from a mentorship perspective. I mean, but maybe not in a father perspective, which is probably what Jaylen was. Well, he doesn't really know what he was missing because he didn't know. We learned that Jaylen got a job offer in Huntsville that is paying, I guess, maybe more, and it keeps him closer to home, and he doesn't have to move to Colorado. I think that the Colorado experience would have been nice, but if they're not paying you no more money, then bye-bye. Okay, bye-bye. All right. The next scene that we see is Miss Nell meeting up with Latisha. And Latisha is, I guess, playing a very interesting role on the show now that there is no Marquez to play around with. Is like she's kind of mediating between Latisha and Miss Nell, kind of on Miss Nell's side, but kind of not. She does recognize that Latisha did get a little bit out of pocket, but she says Latisha is not that way outside of a group setting, which I thought was very interesting. And it kind of goes back to my thought is that maybe when Latisha gets in the group setting, there is maybe a tequila involved or a gin and tonic or whatever it might be. I don't know. I'm just guessing. This is alleged. I'm not saying that the woman is an alkie or nothing like that. That is not what I'm saying. But you know what I'm talking about. As I stated before, it's levels to your personality when you had a cocktail or two. Y'all know what I'm saying. And if you act like you don't, you do. Okay. So Miss Nell, she gets a little testy with Latisha, but ultimately she does agree with Latisha that hey, we probably do need to have a one-on-one to set some boundaries. Boom. Speaking of one-on-one, Chris Fletcher goes to meet up with Lance, and Chris needs to lay down the law because Chris is basically like, look, yo, listen, bro, like you and your cheering, they are not going to disturb me and my wife's peace no more, notably my peace. Okay, I don't know, I don't care what she's saying to you, because we both know that she's gonna say one thing now and she's gonna complain later. So she likes to overwhelm herself. I don't. So what you're gonna do is you're not gonna have my wife coming over to stay at your house 2 to 3 nights out of a week. You need to take care of your baby and get your situation worked out with yourself and stop depending on us to bail you out of all of these things. And I'm looking at this man. I'm like, well, bro, you do have your own construction build business. You got your building here. Like, I mean, what? I mean, why don't you hire somebody? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what kind of money they got. I'm not trying to count that man's pockets. Because listen, business is a roller coaster, right? And with entrepreneurship, you got to learn how to ride the wave. And if you can ride the wave, you good. But it be those times where the wave go like this, and maybe he in a down like this and not in a up like this. So at the end of the day, I can't really say whether or not he can afford a nanny, but it does sound like maybe you, bro, you might want to hire some type of au pair if you can, right? Um, I don't know why that comment just took me out. Okay. Now, Chris say no. Mm-mm. What you need to be doing is if you want to learn some daddy lessons, the person that you need to go talk to is probably Martell. You talking about the same Martell that be going in on your wife, Chris? You talking about that Martell? Oh, okay. Listen. Um, my basis for disagreeing with Chris on this point is because of the way that I feel like Martell has interacted with Chris's wife over the past few years. I just don't understand how you can be supportive of someone who has gone at it with your wife and basically called you and your wife out about different things. That is nonsensical to me. But in terms of the show, this is what I am thinking as well. So what Chris is trying to help Martell film more, because as of right now, if it ain't Destiny or Miss Mama Marlene, then I don't know who he is going to be in a scene with. Okay, I just don't know. And so I felt like it was a blatant ploy to pull him into the group a bit more, but it was I honestly also just very random. It was just very random. Like, the person that you need to talk to about this is Martell. Okay. How? Their situations are very, very different. Martell actually has a young lady that he is with who at home. Okay. Now I don't know if she's at his home, but she sounds like she's nearby. Okay. So he has a ready-made support system already there. It sounds like the situation with Lance is a bit different. And granted, these are nuances, and overarching, the two men are fathers. I just feel like their situations are so vastly different. Not only does Martell benefit from the fact that he has Melody, okay, who is also there with, like, who has a big part in the kids' lives. So you can't discount that. So we don't even know what is going on with the mom in this situation. And not that she's anything bad or anything like that. We just don't know what the situation is. So I just don't think that the situations are equitable. I just don't. And that's just me. Okay. I'm gonna leave it at that. Okay. So I didn't get that recommendation other than, hey, this would be a good idea for you to film with Martell. Okay. So we finally get to the scene that we've all been waiting for. All right. Latisha meets up with Miss Nell at the coffee shop. First of all, y'all know I say this all the time. I love a one-on-one Ponderosa. I feel like reality TV does some of its best work in group scenes, which I feel like some shows rely on so heavily that they oftentimes miss the nuance of a one-on-one Ponderosa. Some examples that would have been really good, that would have made certain seasons of certain shows better, would have been that Dr. Wendy and Ineka should have had a one-on-one Ponderosa much earlier that season. And I feel like that dynamic would have somewhat shifted a bit for the better if they had done so. So it just never made sense that they didn't have that conversation until so much later. Um, the one-on-one sit down with Dr. Wendy and Giselle would have been better if we had gotten more of it. You know, the difference between the way that Love and Marriage Huntsville presents their episodes and the way that like a Housewives show presents their episodes is a Housewives show will present a scene and they will chop it down so that it was like boom, 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 boom. You'll get a bunch of different scenes in the episode. Whereas Love and Marriage Huntsville will give you a extended version of a scene in every episode, right? So a lot of the scenes are a lot longer than you would see on a typical Housewives show, in my opinion. So I just feel like you always want some one-on-one scenes with people who are not getting along, because then what that does is it fuels some of the episodes later. Like, so then now next week you will have Latisha and Miss Nell, reviewing the one-on-one Ponderosa, I'm sure in very different ways, which will then carry on to other members of the cast. That's how you make some reality TV happen, because no two versions, what's up, boo? No two versions will ever be the same, typically. And I do agree, Marceau and Melody Ponderosas were such good television, because you could almost tell like there was like, let's play ping pong here, because we're about to go, right? And it just worked. So for me, seeing Latisha and Miss Nell sit down like this, I was like, let's go, because I sometimes feel like Latisha is like, I'm gonna push her button. Oh, button pushed. There she goes. And Miss Nell is not here at all, because if you press a button, you are going to get a sound. Okay. And it may not be a delightful sound, but you're going to get it. And the moment they sit down, Miss Nell is like, yeah, so I want to talk to you about you getting in my husband's face. And it is on and popping from there. All right. Now, here's the thing. Earlier in this video, I asked you, whose side were you on in this Ponderosa? And I saw a lot of you guys say Miss Nell. And in this instance, I'm going to have to agree. I was definitely, if I'm watching this debate happen, I'm probably more, I feel like Miss Nell made more accurate points in terms of sticking to the topics that she was really annoyed and upset about. Okay. Oh my God, thank you so much. I appreciate that. You know, I be trying, you know. Um, I just feel like she had better points. She stuck to her points, and she hit them home. And I felt like she stuck to her point so well that it sounded like screaming to Latisha. Now, Latisha, I will give you credit for this thing right here. Your hair in the scene, in my opinion, looked amazing. And so as you got the running up out of that scene, it did look flawless upon your exit. Okay. But Miss Nell was not letting a single thing go in this scene. Okay. And so much so that as they because Latisha is the one who brings up that Chris has mentioned Marceau's name in a way that she doesn't like twice. Now, when we go back to what those two instances were, one was when a couple of seasons ago, I remember that scene distinctly because I remember telling y'all it looked like a Kiki Wyatt music video. With Latisha sitting in the car confronting Marceau, I felt like Kiki Wyatt was about to break out into the scene, into a song about some R&B song about you done done me wrong. So in the scene, Marceau rather interestingly says, my friend, I went out to dinner with my friend when I was in Atlanta, but the friend was indeed Chris Fletcher. What we now know is that Nell Fletcher was apparently down at the hotel or wherever she was, but not at the event with Marceau and Chris, but she was waiting at home for the food, okay, waiting at the hotel room, okay. So then, as Miss Nell carefully reviews that and says, the only reason why my husband said something is because your husband brought his name into it when he was in the car with you, okay? Do you remember that? And then Latisha's like, well, I mean, what I'm saying is, I mean, he just did. And it's like, Miss Nell is like, no, if you're going to go where you just went, let's remember it accurately. And this is what happened. And again, okay, and Miss Nell is like, are we talking about Atlanta again? Like, God dang it. You know what I'm saying? Like, her energy in her confessions was very interesting. But Latisha's point is, well, why did your husband have to send a picture of him with my husband in order to let you know that they were together and that he wasn't doing something he wasn't supposed to be doing? It's comical to me. It's extremely comical because here's the thing. Chris, you did say that it would be something that Martell or Maurice or Marceau would do, to have some woman sign an NDA. You did say that. So it's not like anybody was making that up. They weren't, right? Now, your explanation of why you said that is okay, because it sounds like legal something or other. So maybe that's why it sounds more like Maurice or Marceau. You could have just simply said, no, I didn't do that, and then left everyone else out of it. But what you did was you purposely brought in these two men, and now by proxy, you bring in their wives. So, yeah, Chris, like, it started with you. And so to a certain degree, it's like, Miss Nell, you need to start checking Chris about how he moves when he's being confronted with stuff. Basically, like, bro, stand on business when it's time for you to stand on business with these dudes. And then you won't have to keep running in circles. And now your wife is having to confront everybody because you are doing popping willies in the parking lot, avoiding and punani popping to avoid responding to things that you have previously said. So if you would stop doing that, if you would be as straight with the rest of these dudes on the show as you are with your son Lance, then you would have a better time and your wife wouldn't have such a hard time. So, Miss Nell, that's where you also need to start, is because he is refusing to handle his business effectively when he starts to say something to these peoples. To be quite honest with you, I don't really care what any of these people have done, but I'm just telling you how it manifests when they handle each other on the show, right? So that's what's going on. Um, and that's that. Period. So also too, Latisha, you did roll up on that man at the Ponderosa. You did roll up on Chris Fletcher. And if I were you, I would have just said, well, you know what? I did because I was annoyed that he said it. Versus saying, well, I don't recall being on 10, but the camera does, and they will show it. Okay, they will definitely show it. So your short memory on this does not make you less accountable for your actions. Okay. So I did feel like Nell was throwing so much at her in return that Latisha could not really get a word in. And I didn't feel like what she was saying was penetrating Miss Nell in any way, shape, or form. So she basically kind of accuses Nell of yelling. And I was like, she really wasn't yelling. She was not yelling. I think she was just hitting you with so many points that you really could. It sounded loud. It sounded loud. It does. It sounds loud. I think she did throw Tisha off her game. And Tisha was like, you know what? Oh my God, all this yelling. I've got to go. I've got to go. Me and my hair, we are out of here. Okay. And so that's what happened. Period. So yeah, it was good. It was good. Again, I love a good one-on-one Ponderosa because I feel like what you will either get is some type of resolve, boundary setting, or it blows up into something further, which I think it's going to do at this point. So we'll see how this plays out, and we'll see how it works out towards as we continue to move on in the season. I'm interested. Next week, Martell is back into the mix via Maurice, and the group has to now deal with how they will maneuver around him or not. We'll get into more about the Lance and destiny of it all, and how Miss Nell feels that since destiny wasn't giving him any, he had to go and get it someplace else. But they was really just courting, right? I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, but that was this week's episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville. I thought it was good. I'm happy the show is back. I feel like I said, I'm interested to see how we maneuver as we continue to go forward and what comes out and who actually becomes like new cast members. I'm interested to see, because I think that they could use maybe like one or two new couples to really shake things up. And I feel like then we'll be cooking with grease. All right. So with that being said, make sure you guys keep it locked onto the channel if you haven't already done so. And I will catch you all in the next video.